Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're diving into these excerpts that you've pulled from Anurag Sagar von Kabir, Ocean der Liebe. It's about the afterlife, Saint Matt style.
And you've given us a really fascinating set of excerpts here that highlight some really key realms and concepts when it comes to Saint Matt's vision of the afterlife.
So where do we even begin with this? This ocean of love jumps right into this idea of the true light.
Yeah.
It even references Genesis, like right out the gate, bam, existence is spiritual. Did that surprise you, seeing those biblical references?
Well, it's actually not that uncommon to see these sorts of connections across spiritual traditions, but what I find interesting here is how the text uses this idea of the true light as a foundation for understanding the soul's journey. Like it's suggesting there's a spark of the divine within each of us, and that spark, well, it just doesn't disappear after death.
Right, so we've got this inner light, this spiritual essence. But where does it go? The text lays out these four major divisions of the universe: Sach Khand, Brahmanand, and Pind. And I have to admit, the first time I saw those words, I thought maybe I was having a stroke or something.
You're definitely not alone there.
Yeah.
Think of them as like these layers of reality, each with its own unique characteristics. So Sach Khand is the top tier, right? It's pure truth, it's unchanging reality, it's where the very essence of existence kind of hangs out.
So like the ultimate VIP lounge of the cosmos.
Exactly. And then you've got Brahmanand, which is described as this egg of Brahman. So imagine the entire universe as we know it, just crammed into this cosmic egg. Pretty wild, right?
My brain's doing like cosmic gymnastics, just picturing that. Okay, 2 down, 2 to go. What about and Pind?
Okay, so and is like the astral world. It's less about physical stuff and more about energies, emotions, vibes, that sort of thing. And then Pind is just our good old physical reality, the world of form and matter.
Okay, so this framework, it sets the stage for the soul's journey, right? It travels through these different layers of reality. But what determines where we end up?
Well, that's where karma comes in. The text is very clear that Earth is a karmic kshetra. Mm-hmm. You could even think of it like a karmic playground in a way.
Karmic playground, interesting.
It's all about action and reaction. What we sow is what we reap.
So every decision, every action, it's like we're planting a seed that's going to sprout in the afterlife.
Exactly. And there's a specific realm that the text mentions called Dharamkand, the realm of justice. This is where every soul faces the music, so to speak. No escaping those cosmic consequences.
So it's like a performance review, but for your soul? Yeah, that'll make you sweat a little. All right, let's talk about where these souls end up. The text mentions this astral world. What's the deal with that?
So imagine a realm that's completely inhabited by souls who've shed their physical bodies. But here's the catch. It's not just some empty waiting room. It's teeming with this ethereal matter from 7 astral planes. And guess what? Souls actually use this matter to build their surroundings based on their actions on Earth.
Wait, so you're telling me that we're basically designing our own afterlife experience through the choices that we make in this life?
You got it. And this is where the text brings in Annie Besant's work, The Ancient Wisdom. She describes the lower astral plane as Kamlok.
Kamlok. Sounds intense.
It can be. Souls that are driven by their earthly cravings, they end up there and they experience the consequences of those desires. Think of it like this. You crave instant gratification in your earthly life. Well, in Kamlok, those desires, they play out instantly with all of their consequences. And to make matters even more interesting, it's divided into 7 subplanes, each with its own flavor. It's like a karmic cocktail bar almost.
Okay, so not all sunshine and rainbows in the afterlife. It's more like, I guess, personalized karmic cocktails. So what happens to the people who were less about indulgence and more about, say, art or knowledge during their time on Earth?
Well, the text suggests that they would find themselves in the higher astral planes. For instance, artists often end up in the 6th astral plane, while those who are consumed by material pursuits, worldly knowledge, that kind of thing, they tend to land in the 7th. It's almost like a cosmic sorting hat, placing you based on your inner compass.
Okay, so we've explored the physical realm, we've dipped our toes into the astral world, but the journey doesn't end there, does it? This is where we enter what the text calls the mental planes. Cue the spooky music.
I don't know about the spooky music. It's not quite a horror movie. Think of it as a realm where your thoughts have power, where they actually shape your reality. It's like the ultimate manifestation experiment. The text calls this the Manomai Srishti.
The Manomai what now? Okay, that's a mouthful. Break that down for us.
Essentially, it's the world that's created by the thinking mind, by Manas, and it's a realm that's actually full of illusions and deceptions. Souls are still grappling with the consequences of their actions, their desires, but it's all happening on a different, more mental level.
So we've upgraded from karmic cocktails to karmic thought bubbles.
Exactly. And just like with the astral plane, there are 7 subplanes here too. The lower levels. Think of those who are still clinging to those earthly desires and attachments. The higher levels, those are more like a haven for the folks who really nourished their intellect, their spirituality, and their earthly lives.
Okay, so there's hope for the bookworms and the philosophers among us. So give us an example of one of these like higher level mental hangouts. What's that like?
Okay, so imagine a place called Devlock.
Devlock, okay.
It's the dwelling place of these radiant beings called divas. This is where people who were really all about chasing knowledge in their earthly life end up.
Devlock does have a nice ring to it, I have to admit.
And here's the really interesting part. It's not exclusive to any one religion or belief system. Hindus, Zoroastrians, Buddhists, Christians, even some Muslims consider it a heavenly realm. Some people even think it might have been the location of the Garden of Eden.
Wow, talk about inclusivity. It's like the ultimate interfaith retreat center. But is this where the soul's journey ends? Or is there more to discover beyond Devlock?
Oh, there's always more. The text actually describes a realm beyond even Devlock. It's called Brahmlok, the abode of Brahma. This is where souls reach like peak spiritual evolution. They experience this pure bliss, this oneness with the Creator.
So Brahmlok is like the ultimate spiritual spa retreat, complete with a cosmic mud bath and a chat with the big guy.
You could say that. Souls in Brahmlok are described as like great pioneers of humanity who have achieved liberation and are now able to, guide others. It's a realm that completely transcends the physical. It's where love, intelligence, and pure bliss just reign supreme. The text actually compares it to Sat Chit Anand, the blissful consciousness of the universe itself.
Okay, that's a lot to process. It's like the ultimate upgrade, going from like standard soul to deluxe enlightened edition. But with all of these different realms, all of these levels, are there any kind of like fundamental forces at play here that we should know about?
Absolutely. The text mentions something called the 3 gunas, which are essentially these cosmic forces of creation, preservation, and destruction. They're like the directors of this grand cosmic play we call existence.
Oh, so it's like a cosmic ballet. We're all just dancing to their tune.
Exactly. And these gunas are actually personified by Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva. So Brahma's the creative force, Vishnu's the preserver, and Shiva, well, he gets the fun job of shaking things up.
It's like the ultimate cosmic power trio. Brahma writes the script, Vishnu directs the show, and Shiva handles the special effects. Makes you realize even deities have to specialize, right?
Exactly. And it really highlights this idea that the universe is in this constant flux, this dance between creation and destruction. Our actions, our very existence, it's all part of this grand cosmic flow.
Wow. Okay, so we've got these realms, these forces, but what's the end game here? What's the ultimate goal, according to all of this?
Well, the text refers to something called Brahma Vidya, knowledge of Brahma, as the ultimate achievement. It's about recognizing that divine spark that's within all of us, recognizing the unity of all beings. Imagine realizing that we're all connected, we're all part of this incredible cosmic web.
It's like that we are all one bumper sticker, but on a cosmic scale. So how do we achieve this Brahma Vidya? Is it like winning a cosmic lottery ticket, or is there a method to this spiritual madness?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. The text introduces this concept of the Jivan Mukta. This is someone who achieves liberation while they're still alive.
Wait, hold up. Enlightenment in this lifetime. Tell me more.
It's about mastering what they call the art of dying, which I know it sounds a little morbid.
A little bit, yeah.
But it's actually about transcending those limitations of the physical realm. It's about transcending this endless cycle of birth and death while we're still alive. Imagine breaking free from the matrix, but instead of dodging bullets, you're sipping tea and contemplating the universe.
Okay, that is officially going on my vision board. But how do we even begin to grasp these concepts, this knowledge of the beyond?
Well, the text uses a term, paravidya, and it essentially means knowledge of the beyond. You can think of it as this ultimate guidebook for understanding the soul's journey.
So it's like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but for souls.
Okay.
I need to get my hands on that. And speaking of guides, the text also mentions these prophets and messiahs, these figures who've helped to guide humanity toward, I guess, a more righteous way of living. It's like they had some inside knowledge on this whole afterlife thing, right?
Absolutely. They serve as these really important reminders that we're not alone on this path. that there's guidance available, there's wisdom that's been passed down through generations, and it's all pointing us towards that ultimate destination, that unity with the divine.
It's humbling, but it's also empowering, isn't it? To think that, wow, we're part of this grand cosmic story, but we also have the power to actually shape our own experiences within it. This has been quite a journey so far, and we've only just begun to scratch the surface. Are you ready to really delve into the specifics of these realms, what they mean for our soul's journey?
Absolutely. And the deeper we dive into these teachings, it seems like the more questions they provoke. But that's all part of the journey, right?
I love that. So for our listeners, buckle up, because we are about to get into the nitty-gritty of life after death, Saint Matt style. This is where things get really interesting. Okay, so we've covered the basics, but let's get specific. You mentioned souls building their own afterlife digs in this astral realm. What kind of ethereal home decor are we talking about here? Are we talking shag carpets made of moonbeams, lava lamps fueled by cosmic energy?
Well, thankfully, it's a bit more intricate than that. The text really emphasizes that our astral surroundings are like these direct reflections of our earthly actions.
Right.
It's almost like a karmic 3D printer, like your thoughts and deeds provide the blueprint, and then the astral plane provides all the materials.
So if my apartment's a mess, my astral crib is going to be a disaster zone. Maybe I should get on that cleaning spree.
Well, it's more about the energetic residue of our actions, not so much the literal clutter. But yeah, you get the idea.
Okay, I think so.
The text even highlights this by describing the astral world as the realm of Geistwesen. It's like disembodied souls, who retain what it calls their Feinstofflichen, their subtle bodies.
Subtle bodies. So we're not just floating consciousnesses.
Right, exactly. We're still us. We're just made of, finer stuff. And this subtle body, it interacts with what the text calls Gemütsstoff. That's like mind stuff, but in its subtle state. So imagine thoughts and emotions as these tangible things that actually shape the fabric of this realm.
Okay, I'm starting to get how this works. So our thoughts, our actions from this life, they're like these energetic blueprints, and this subtle mind stuff is like the building material. But what about our past lives, though? Do those experiences get factored into the design as well?
Absolutely. The text is very clear that in both the astral and the mental realms, we carry einen Vorrat von seinen Eindrücken. It's like a storehouse of impressions that we've accumulated from all of our past lives, since the dawn of time. Talk about baggage, right?
No kidding. So it's like we're carrying around these cosmic suitcases, but they're filled with memories and experiences from all of our past selves. So does that mean that everyone's astral experience is completely different? Or are there some standard templates that we all kind of work with?
Well, the text is very clear that it's highly personalized. It even says, jeder sein eigenes Habitat und dies nicht nur hier, sondern auch im Jenseits. So everyone creates their own habitat, and that's not just here, but also in the hereafter. It's like a cosmic design your own adventure.
Okay, that's kind of exciting, but also a little terrifying, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
We're literally architects of our own afterlife experience.
Yeah.
But we don't just materialize in our custom-built astral homes, right? What happens when a soul first arrives in this realm?
Right, so that's where Annie Besant's research comes in handy again. She talks about how the lower astral plane, Kamlok, the place of desires, that's where most souls touch down first.
Right, Kamlok doesn't sound like a 5-star resort, to be honest.
Not quite. It's less about relaxation and more about confronting those lingering desires and attachments that we brought with us.
Right.
The text even describes how souls in Kamlok will draw Feinstoffliche Materie, this ethereal matter, from each of its 7 subplanes.
So it's like this cosmic buffet of karmic consequences.
Exactly. And depending on, what we indulged in or denied ourselves during our earthly life, certain dishes might be more, shall we say, appealing than others.
Right.
The text actually says that in Kamlok, we're abbauen die Verursachung. We're working off the causes that we set in motion on Earth.
So we're settling our cosmic debts.
Okay.
But how long does this whole karmic balancing act last? Is it just a quick stopover, or can you actually get stuck in Kamlok indefinitely?
Well, the duration really depends on how intensely we clung to those earthly desires. The text explains that once those causes are abgebaut, once they're worked off, we become würdig, worthy of the Land der Strahlen, the land of radiance.
Okay, land of radiance sounds a lot more appealing than place of desires, I have to say.
Huh? Right.
So there's a light at the end of this karmic tunnel, it seems.
Yeah.
But we're not all created equal in the afterlife, are we? The text mentioned how, for example, artists and those who were really fixated on material wealth, they end up in different astral neighborhoods.
Right. And it all boils down to our Gemütsart, the type of mind that we've cultivated. Remember, like attracts like in the astral realm. So those who are focused on, beauty, creativity, spiritual exploration, those folks, they naturally gravitate towards those higher astral planes.
Right. And then those who are obsessed with power, wealth, status, those folks are stuck in like the cosmic basement suite.
Well, think of it less as a punishment and more as just a reflection of their own internal landscape, The Tarot actually paints a very vivid picture of those lower levels of Kamlok. And it even draws on Besant's descriptions of encountering what she called the Abscheulichsten der Abscheulichen, the most abominable of the abominable.
Okay, that's a little intense. Who are these abominable folks?
Well, think, murderers, thieves, the really ruthless, the power-hungry. The text explains that they've created tierische astral Körper, these animalistic astral bodies for themselves through their actions on Earth.
Animalistic astral bodies. So they're literally taking on monstrous forms.
That's how the text describes it, yeah. It emphasizes that those who really indulge in their basest instincts, their tierischen Geschmäckern and Wirschen Gelüsten, their animalistic tastes and bestial desires will actually manifest accordingly in the astral realm.
Okay, that's a sobering thought. The fact that our darkest impulses can literally shape our afterlife experience. It makes those ancient depictions of hell seem a lot less metaphorical, right?
It really does add another layer to those interpretations for sure. Besant even describes these lower astral levels as untersten Schicht der Höllenregion, the lowest level of the hell region, filled with souls who are, and I quote, unhetzend, brüllend, racend und taubend, uncaring, roaring, raving, and raging, all because they're desperate to satisfy these, insatiable desires.
Wow. It's like those cravings, those obsessions that we have, they just become amplified in the afterlife. It's like a self-inflicted torment.
Yeah.
Really makes you realize how important it is to examine those darker impulses within ourselves now, while we still have a chance to choose a different path.
Absolutely. The text is such a powerful reminder that we're not just preparing for this life, but for the next one and the one after that. It's a call to cultivate die Reichtümer des göttlichen Gemüts, the riches of the divine mind, instead of getting caught in that trap of just pure materialism.
So how do we do that? How do we cultivate those riches of the divine mind
while
we're, still stuck navigating this material world?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Right.
And, the text actually suggests that it's not necessarily about becoming some kind of ascetic, about renouncing all worldly possessions and pleasures. It's more about shifting our focus. It's about cultivating qualities like compassion, generosity, a genuine desire for knowledge and understanding.
Mm-hmm.
It's about recognizing that true fulfillment, it comes from within, not from external circumstances.
Easier said than done, I think, for most of us.
Yeah.
But a worthy goal. So once a soul has kind of, navigated the ups and downs of Kamlok, the karmic cocktails, the abominable encounters, where does it go next? Is it just straight to the land of radiance? Or is there more to this astral world?
Well, you see, the journey through the astral plane, it's really a process of refinement.
Okay.
It's about shedding those denser layers of desire and attachment. And the text suggests it's not exactly a linear path, There are these 7 astral subplanes, each with its own, unique energetic flavor. And souls can actually move between them as they're working through that karmic baggage.
So it's less like climbing a ladder and more like navigating a labyrinth, maybe?
Yeah.
You might take a few wrong turns, hit a few dead ends, but eventually you find your way towards the center.
That's a great way to put it. And as souls progress through these subplanes, they start to shed those heavier, more, negative energies. And their actual experience of the astral realm, it becomes lighter, more joyful.
It's like that feeling you get after a good decluttering session. Right?
Yeah.
Like that sense of spaciousness, lightness, clarity. Except in this case, it's not your closet, it's your soul.
Exactly. And as we move towards those higher astral planes, we actually become more aligned with our true spiritual nature.
Okay.
That spark of the divine that resides within each and every one of us.
So it's like we're polishing our inner mirrors so that we can reflect that divine light more clearly. But we're not just wandering around in these astral realms indefinitely, are we? What happens after our astral sojourn?
Well, that's when we transition to an even more subtle and refined realm, what the text calls the mental planes, the Welt der Gedanken, the world of thoughts.
Okay, the mental planes. We touched on this a little bit earlier, but now I'm even more intrigued. It's like we've gone from a karmic playground to a cosmic classroom. What kind of lessons are on the syllabus here?
Well, the mental plane, it's where we confront the underlying causes of our desires. It's the very thoughts, the beliefs that shape our reality both in this life and the next.
So it's less about like facing the consequences of our actions and more about understanding the motivations behind them.
Yeah.
It's like we're going to therapy, but with the universe.
In a way, yes. And just as our thoughts and emotions shape our experiences in this life, they actually hold even greater sway in the mental realm.
So it's even more important to be mindful of what we're thinking, what we're feeling, because those thoughts, those feelings, they're literally shaping our reality on the mental plane.
That's the idea. The text describes the mental plane as having Zahlosen-Ebenen und Unterebenen, countless planes and subplanes, and it even says that it verschiedene Höhlen und Himmel einschließen. It includes different hells and heavens.
Okay, so even in the mental realm, there's a spectrum of experience, from like the blissful to the downright unpleasant.
Exactly. And just like in the astral realm, our experience is completely determined by the quality of our thoughts and the level of, spiritual development we've attained.
So it's not enough to just like have good intentions. We need to be actively cultivating those qualities that will actually serve us well on the mental plane. But what does that look like, practically speaking? What are some of the specifics?
Well, the text goes into great detail about the power of thought. It even says, Gedanken haben eine gewaltige Kraft. Thoughts have an immense power. It suggests that while we're living on Earth, our Gedankenflüge und Fantasy, our flights of thought, our fantasies, they're already creating a kind of blueprint for our mental experience after death.
So basically, we're building our own mental havens or hells, even while we're still alive.
That's one way to look at it. The text really emphasizes that we're not just passive recipients of experience, but we're active creators, even in the mental realm. It even says, so schafft sich jeder sein eigenes Habitat. Everyone creates their own habitat.
Okay, well, that's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
It's like we're handed this cosmic toolkit of thoughts and told, go ahead, build your own afterlife experience, no pressure.
It can feel overwhelming, for sure, but the text also offers guidance. It suggests that by aligning our thoughts with Brahman, mit seiner reinen Gemütsessenz, with Brahman and its pure mind essence, that we can actually create a more harmonious and fulfilling experience on the mental plane.
So it's about tapping into that like pure divine consciousness that kind of underlies all of creation. But how do we actually do that? How do we access that level of awareness when, let's face it, we're constantly bombarded with distractions, with negativity?
The text really emphasizes the importance of meditation, of contemplation, of ethical living as these really powerful tools for purifying the mind and connecting with that divine essence.
It's about like cultivating inner peace, cultivating clarity, so that we can become more receptive to that, I guess, higher wisdom, that Brahma Vidya that we talked about earlier. So are the mental planes like the final destination? Or is there even more to the soul's journey?
Well, beyond the mental planes, there lies the highest realm, the ultimate goal, Sach Khand.
Sach Khand. The name itself just sounds like sacred, like a whisper of something beyond our comprehension.
It's described as the abode of truth and unchanging reality.
Okay.
It's the source from which all of creation emanates. Imagine a realm of pure consciousness, a place where the material cause of the universe is verborgen und involviert, hidden and involved.
It's like the control room of existence itself.
Right.
But what's it actually like to experience Sach Khand? Does the text offer any like glimpses?
It describes it as a realm of pure bliss, a state of complete unity with the divine, where all limitations, all duality, it just dissolves. But it also acknowledges that Sach Khand is beyond the grasp of like the human intellect. It's a state that can only be experienced through this direct spiritual realization, through this like profound awakening of consciousness.
So we can study these texts, we can contemplate these concepts, but ultimately the experience of Sach Khand is like beyond words, beyond thought.
Exactly. It's the ultimate mystery. It's the culmination of the soul's journey. It's a state of being that transcends all of our earthly conceptions of, heaven, paradise, whatever you want to call it.
It's both humbling and awe-inspiring, right?
Mm-hmm.
To think that even though we might not be able to fully grasp it with our like limited human minds, that this realm of pure consciousness exists. And it's the ultimate destination of our soul's journey.
It is, and the text suggests that even though Sach Khand might seem like this unattainable goal, the very act of striving towards it, of aligning our thoughts and actions with that divine essence, it has this transformative effect on our souls.
So even if we don't reach Sach Khand in this lifetime, or even in this like cycle of lifetimes, the journey itself is what really matters. the striving, the seeking, the constant refinement of our being.
Exactly. It's about progress, not perfection. And the text actually reminds us that we don't have to walk this path alone either. There are spiritual guides, there are teachers who can help illuminate the path for us. And ultimately, that divine grace is always there, supporting us, guiding us towards that ultimate realization of unity.
It is comforting to know that we have that support, that guidance, even as we're navigating these, complex and often challenging realms. But what about the journey through the mental plane itself? We've talked about the dangers, we've talked about the possibilities, but can you give us a sense of what it's actually like to experience this realm,
It's like this double-edged sword of thought itself.
Okay.
On the one hand, our thoughts have this incredible creative power in this realm. They can literally shape our surroundings, our experiences, even our encounters with other beings. But that same power, it can actually lead to our downfall if we're not really, really careful.
So it's like we're given the keys to this fully loaded spaceship, but we haven't quite figured out which button does what yet.
Exactly. Like we could end up anywhere or nowhere depending on how well we've mastered our own minds. The text even talks about how folks who haven't reached a certain level of spiritual maturity, yet those who are still kind of tangled up in desires and illusions, they're actually swiftly ushered through the trickier parts of the mental plane for their own safety, of course.
Oh, really? So there are cosmic crossing guards making sure we don't wander into the wrong mental neighborhoods.
Exactly. It just highlights this idea of, compassionate guidance, even in the afterlife. The text says that those who aren't quite ready are quickly guided to these higher, safer regions, Reife und Beständigkeit zu erlangen, to attain maturity and stability.
Okay, so it's like a cosmic detour sign redirecting us toward hopefully a more scenic route. I like it. But what about those who are ready to kind of delve a bit deeper into the mental plane? What's their experience like?
Well, the text describes it as this really dynamic, bustling realm.
Okay.
Souls are constantly moving from the astral world, the world of desires, to this world of thoughts, where they can actually confront those deeper implications of their actions, the patterns that have shaped their journey.
So it's less about instant gratification or even punishment, and more about confronting those root causes of our desires, the why behind the what. Right?
Precisely. And the text actually calls it a mental zone that's created by the denkende Gemüt, the thinking mind, which it also refers to as manas.
Right, manas. So our personal cosmic architect, but it's designing our mental landscape based on our deepest thoughts and beliefs.
Exactly. And this architect, well, it never sleeps, right?
Yeah.
It's constantly working, constantly shaping our reality, both in this life and in the next. And the text really emphasizes how powerful our thoughts are, saying, Gedanken haben eine gewaltige Kraft.
So every single thought is a brush stroke on this canvas of our afterlife experience, no pressure.
Right. And the text actually uses this really, really evocative image. It says, and I'm paraphrasing here a little bit, Jeder Mensch schafft sich, während auf Erden lebt, durch Gedankenflüge und Fantasie sein eigenes Traumland und zu diesem wird die Seele nach dem Tode allmählich geführt. Essentially, it's saying that while we're alive, our thoughts, our fantasies, they're actually crafting this dreamland that our souls will gradually inhabit after death.
Wow. Okay, that's both incredibly empowering and kind of terrifying, if I'm being honest. Empowering because it means we have a lot more agency than we realize, I think, in shaping our experience.
Yeah.
But terrifying because, well, I don't know if you've met my mind, but it can be a scary place.
Oh, I think we can all relate to that. And the text actually doesn't shy away from that, darker side at all. It uses the analogy of a spider that's caught in its own web to describe how easily we can become entangled in our own thoughts and desires. And that can create a kind of self-inflicted mental prison.
Okay, yeah, now that is scary. So how do we avoid, spinning ourselves into this kind of karmic cocoon of just negativity and regret?
Well, the text suggests that the key is to, and this will probably sound familiar, to align our thoughts with Brahman.
Right, with that pure universal consciousness.
Exactly. It's about purifying our minds. It's about refining our thoughts so that we're creating from a place of love, from a place of wisdom, from a place of, connection to the divine, rather than from this place of fear, of ego, of attachment.
So it's like we're upgrading our mental building materials. We're going from flimsy cardboard and duct tape to marble and titanium.
I love that analogy. The text really emphasizes that this process of upgrading our materials, it begins right here, right now. It says, auf jeder Stufe webtet sich das Gemüt seine eigene Welt. On every single level, the mind weaves its own world. So our thoughts, they're constantly shaping our reality, even if we're not consciously aware of it.
So mindfulness, then, it's not just about being present in this moment. It's about shaping those future moments as well, both in this life and beyond.
Precisely. And the text actually offers us a glimpse of what's possible when we really master this whole art of thought creation. It describes how our thoughts have the power to create ein wundervolles Gedankenkönigreich, this wonderful thought kingdom.
A thought kingdom. Okay, now that's something worth striving for.
Yeah.
But we're not just talking about, like, positive affirmations and wishful thinking here, are we? What does it actually mean to create this thought kingdom, like one that's aligned with the divine?
That's where this concept of Brahmavidya, knowledge of Brahma, comes into play again.
Right.
It's about going beyond those surface level positivity and really connecting with the very essence of existence itself, that pure consciousness that permeates all things.
It's like we're not just building sandcastles in our minds. We're tapping into the fundamental, building blocks of reality itself.
Exactly. And the text actually suggests that as we cultivate this deeper understanding, this Brahma Vidya, our thoughts actually become infused with a very different kind of power. They become aligned with those creative forces of the universe itself.
So it's not about forcing our will on the universe. It's about, aligning ourselves with the flow of creation. We become co-creators with the divine.
Beautifully said.
Yeah.
And the text suggests that this alignment, it leads to this really profound transformation, not just in our, mental experience after death, but in our lives here and now as well.
So it's not just about some, pie-in-the-sky spiritual aspirations. It's about creating this more fulfilling, more meaningful existence for ourselves right here in the present moment as well.
Absolutely. And the text reminds us that even though this path of spiritual development might seem really daunting, we don't have to walk it alone. There's guidance available. There's wisdom that's been passed down for, countless generations. And it's all pointing us toward that ultimate realization, that unity with the divine.
Right. The prophets, the messiahs, the Jivan Muktas, there are all these incredible reminders that this journey is possible and that there is support available for us every single step of the way. Speaking of the Jivan Muktas, can we circle back to them for a minute?
Yeah, sure.
They're the ones who have actually achieved liberation while they're still alive, right? It's like they figured out the cheat codes to the spiritual game.
Right. The text describes them as having mastered die Kunst des Todes im Leben, the art of dying while living. So they've transcended the limitations of the physical realm, that endless cycle of birth and death, while they're still embodied.
Wow. So it's like they hacked the Matrix, but instead of kung fu fighting, they're sipping tea and radiating pure bliss.
Right.
So what can we learn from these, spiritual overachievers then? What sets them apart from the rest of us?
Well, the text really emphasizes that the Jivan Mukta, they're not defined by any kind of outward achievements or possessions or anything like that. It's about their inner state of being.
Okay.
They embody these qualities wisdom, compassion, unconditional love, not just as these ideals, but as lived experiences.
It's not about becoming this emotionless robot. It's about embodying the highest qualities of what it actually means to be human, but on this whole other cosmic level.
Exactly. And the text suggests that by studying the teachings, the examples of these Jivan Muktas, by striving to cultivate those same qualities within ourselves, we can all move closer to that state of liberation, regardless of our, external circumstances.
It's a powerful reminder that enlightenment is not some far-off destination. It's a possibility that actually exists within each and every one of us right here, right now.
I love that.
And I think that's a beautiful place to end our deep dive for today.
It is.
We've covered so much ground, from those intricate details about the afterlife realms to these really fundamental principles that guide the soul's journey. But it feels like we've only just scratched the surface.
Well, that's the beauty of these ancient teachings, isn't it? They offer us this glimpse into the vastness of existence, and they invite us to really contemplate our own unique place within this grand cosmic tapestry. And perhaps the most important takeaway of all is that, the journey itself, that's the destination.
Beautifully said. It's about embracing that process of growth, that constant unfolding of our potential, and recognizing that we're all interconnected. We're all part of this incredible dance of creation, of consciousness.
And as we navigate all the challenges, but also the opportunities of this human experience, I think it's really important to remember that our choices, even our thoughts, are very intentions. They have this ripple effect that extends so far beyond the confines of just this life. It's like we're not just shaping our present reality, we're shaping those landscapes of our future selves too.
It's a powerful reminder to, live consciously, to cultivate those qualities that really resonate with our highest aspirations, and to maybe even approach this whole journey with, I don't know, a sense of reverence, a sense of curiosity, and hey, maybe even a touch of humor along the way.
Absolutely. Because as we've explored today, the journey of the soul, it is nothing short of extraordinary.
This has been an absolutely amazing deep dive. And for me, at least, I can't wait for our next adventure into the world of knowledge. Until then, everyone, keep those minds curious and keep exploring.